Welcome to NECKROOTS, episode 4 podcast, Neck Nation. We're excited that you're here. This episode's titled, I Will Decide. It's the power of choice, and just think about what we just said. I will decide. I'm Kit James.
Austin Davis.
And you know what? The Neck Nation power station is, get ready, plug in.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's going to be some juice today, and we'll decide.
Yeah, we'll decide. You know, I think there's a lot of power in decision, and if we take a step back and we think about the importance of decision in our life, right, a decision or a choice precedes everything we do, everything we think, and everything that we say, right? And so whether it's me, whether it's Neck Nation, whether it's you, whoever it is, right, we're making decisions all day long about every facet of our life. So it's good that we sit and talk about, you know, what these decisions are and how to make good ones.
You're absolutely right. And you know what, Austin? Not making a decision or saying, I don't want to decide right now, you just made a decision.
Oh, sure.
Right? Not deciding is making a decision.
Yeah.
I don't think we realize throughout the day how many times we make a decision. It's amazing. So every time I think about I will decide or decisions or whatever, I remember years ago, I mean, it had to be 15 years ago, I was doing a conference and it was about decision, and they called me in and they said, hey, come down here. And I said, what's the title? And they said, I'll decide. And so when I was flying there, and I got a rental car, and I had to pull into this tool store to get something for one of our tables that we set up. And it was funny because I was with a buddy of mine, and we walked into this tool store, and I'm not kidding you, we're in this little hardware store in this little town on the outskirts of Arizona, and the name of the store was Tool Store.
Great.
Right.
Wonder what's in there.
Yeah, right. It's so I go in there and the guy's like, can I help you? And I said, yeah, do you guys sell tools here? And he just looks at me all weird and he goes, yeah, we sell tools. I said, I'll decide.
Right.
I'll decide if you sell tools.
Yeah.
And so we just had fun with it, but a little bit of levity, but the reality is it's powerful, it's serious, and you know what? Having the power to decide is a big deal. So episode 1 was Dare to Be Different.
Yep, Dare to Be Different.
Episode 2 was...
We talked about confidence.
Yep, confidence. And 3 was attitude.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think, number 4 being I will decide, the power of decision. That one right there is the glue that binds all 3 of the previous episodes together. I mean, it's really the catalyst, and it's the one that sticks them together and moves us into action and takes them in. It makes them for real. It glues them together. So you either go or you blow based on your choice, right?
Absolutely.
Those three previous episodes will go or blow based on how you choose to have your attitude. Do you choose to, be different? And do you choose to do whatever you got to do to build your self-worth and your confidence and decide? Yeah. It all comes down to a decision, right?
Absolutely.
So the one thing I always think about when I was raising the kids and always trying to teach them give them wisdom anytime you can. Windshield time with the boys, it's wisdom time. Put your phones down. When we're working, it's, that if you got a shovel in your hand, you don't have a phone in your hand, right? So you're all ears.
Your ears, yeah.
So I remember my son would say, hey, both of them. They'd say, oh, this is harder, that's harder, whatever, right? And I remember saying to him, I said, hey, look, life's hard. I mean, that's the truth. Life's hard.
It is.
There's no getting around it.
No, it's hard for everybody.
Everybody. And so they would pick things that they would tell me, oh, Dad, this is harder, that's hard. And I'm like, you know what? Listen to me. Being out of shape is hard.
It's
right?
hard.
Getting up at 4 a.m, going to the gym and riding the bike or lifting weights or whatever is hard.
Yeah.
Right? Being poor is hard. Being rich or wealthy and chasing that dream and getting up and believing in yourself and taking risks and doing all the things that requires is hard.
It's hard.
Right?
And there may be some people that argue that, being unfit or like that's not hard. You don't have to put in a lot of work to not be fit. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you've ever tried to get down on the ground and play with your kids when you're overweight, it's difficult. If you've ever tried to put on a pair of socks
Yeah.
And you're overweight, you're holding your breath, brother. It's hard. So there are aspects of being unfit that are hard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it goes on and on. Being alone or lonely is hard,
Yeah.
right? But always entertaining and picking up the phone and being social and putting yourself out there is hard.
It's hard.
It's all hard. Getting good grades, hard.
Sure.
Takes work. Getting bad grades, I think your argument would work good here too. My kids would make the argument, one time in their life probably. Oh, getting bad grades is easy. It's not hard. Oh, it's hard.
Oh, it's hard. And it makes things harder on the back end for sure.
Yeah. Come midterms, it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
You ain't gonna explain your way out of that.
No, not at all.
So I think the bottom line is I tell the kids, choose your hard.
Choose your hard.
Choose your hard. Power is to choose.
Yeah.
Life's hard. All these different examples are hard. Choose your hard. One has a different outcome than the other one, right?
Yeah, the only difference in these is the consequences, right? Good or bad consequences. That's the only difference between it's a choice between hard or hard.
Yep.
And which consequences do you want to have? Which do you prefer?
Yep. Or what outcome do you want?
Yeah.
Right? So choose your hard. The power of choice, there's choices. It's like the 3 C's, in my opinion, Neck Nation. You look at the 3 C's, right? Just so you can remember it. And it's choices, chances, changes. And the way that breaks out is we have to make a choice. We have to take a chance to make the change, right? And the power of those 3 C's is very important because what's the choice? What does it lead to? Change.
Yeah.
Right? What are we talking about? We live in a world where we need change.
We do need change. Not just change in the world, but in some cases we need change in ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's how you change a world. One person at a time. But you look at where we're at in the world right now, man, we need change. That's why we're doing this, right?
Oh, yeah.
We need to make a difference.
We do need to make a difference.
And I think attitude, when we talked about that in the previous episode, we talked about our attitude glasses.
Yep.
I think we see the world the way we want to see it, right? Or the way the world wants us to see it. But you know what? We should see it for what we want it to be. And that requires a choice. And then if we got to make a difference, then we're going to have to change the world to be the way we want it to be. We'll decide.
We'll decide,
right? There's a power in choice. So I read a quote the other day and it said, being a good leader is a choice.
Yeah.
And I thought about that for a minute and I'm like, being a good leader is a choice. But what else falls into that category? Being a better person, a better father, a better husband, a better coworker, a better boss, a better you today than better you tomorrow than we are today, right? In the future, everything falls into that category. A better grandpa, a better son, uncle, relative, whatever. A better person in the community that you live in requires choice.
Yeah, it does. And to kind of go along with that, there may be other people or things placed in our life that help us to recognize certain areas where we need to make a choice, right? For me, being a better husband, a better father, and stuff like that. Like I've always got my wife or I've got my kids there to remind me or say little things, right, that inspire me to make the decision because I'll decide. Right? I'll decide. To be a better husband and to be a better father. And there's a lot of power in that, Neck Nation. You got to realize that I'll decide. Nobody is deciding for you. I'll decide. But people can remind you. They can give you these little reminders.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what, Austin? It's not hard to make a decision once you know your values. I think once you know your values and your value-based system, the decision's already made because you made the decision to place value in your values.
Yeah.
But, we're all about remembering our roots. That's how this whole thing came about. Not forgetting who we are, not remembering our roots, but knowing who we are. I think it's real hard to have those values, to make that change, to make that choice, if you don't know who you are first.
Yeah. You know what? And I've seen that in my own life where I've maybe lost my values I've gone through periods in my life where, I've changed what my priorities are, and I have lost my values at times. And I think about the decisions that I made during those times, and were they better for me in the long run, or were they detrimental to my progress as an individual?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. One of the most important decisions we'll face in life is choosing whether we walk away or whether we stick it out, stay where we're at, and do better.
Yeah.
Right? And every single action just coming in here and deciding to do what we're doing, deciding to throw the NECKROOTS hat on, there's so many decisions. I'm curious. I think tomorrow I'm going to pay attention to how many decisions are made openly.
Good luck counting those, brother.
I know. I'm going to get me one of the clickers.
You're going to have to.
I'm going to get me the golf clicker, and I'm going to start paying attention.
You'll have to click it twice every time because you chose to click the clicker. So.
Yeah, there you go. You're absolutely right. And so, you know what? This really goes along with all our other episodes, but the power of choice binds them all together. It does. It goes or blows based on choice. And if we don't like the way things are, then we should be the change, right?
Yeah.
We should be the change, and that requires choice. Everything that we do and we become, really, there's no destination, right? It's a journey. And once you get to the destination, well, your expectations of that destination are, the grass is greener on the other side. But the reality is it's where we are today, right now. Everybody, Neck Nation, anyone listening, you and me, wherever we're at right now today, we got to take accountability, because guess what? It was our choices that got us here.
Yeah.
Right? And we could, if there's a pessimist out there, bring him on. I'd like to argue with him. But he could say, well, so-and-so made this choice, which affected me this way or that way. It's like, stop.
Yeah.
Right? You got to wake up and smell the makeup. Those choices that they made, some of them may be out of your control, but the reality is the way you react to it is not out of your control. And I think we've all heard, look, life is 90%, it's 90% of what happens to us and 10% of the way we react. It's actually the other way around, right? It's like, you need to start reacting more. It's really 10% of what happened to us in life is that's it. 10%. There's things happening to us every day. 90% of what our outcome's going to be and the way we find our happiness, success, and joy is based on how we react to that 90%.
Our response.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is, and you can speed up or you can slow down your progress, right? Wherever you're intending to go, and I think we're all intending to go to the same place, which is become a better version of ourselves, right? We've talked about this. That's part of the Neck Nation, right? That's part of being Neck, is just becoming a better version, becoming the best version of yourself. And these decisions and how you react, how you decide to react and respond to situations can either help you become a better version of yourself, they can prohibit you from becoming a better version of yourself. And there's been times in my life where I've made bad decisions, or not bad decisions, but responded to things by making bad decisions, right? And that slowed my progress for a really long time.
It's interesting you say that, because for years and years and years, as I've studied psychology and what makes people tick, etc., and trying to raise the boys to be better than, to become. I love the word become.
Oh, sure.
Because we're always becoming. There's no destination. We're becoming. Yeah. Every day we're learning, we're growing. But the important thing that I learned is there is no neutral. There is no plateau. You know how people say, I'm a coast. You're not coasting. No coasting. You're either learning or you're dying. You're either going up or you're going down.
Yeah.
There is, it's drop a gear and disappear, or it's, you know what I mean? Or you're going down.
Yeah.
So I think feeding our minds, our spirits, our souls, learning anything about ourselves, about those around us, and how to be a better person, a better Neck tomorrow than we are today is very, very, very important.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in that. And I think the other thing that was came across my mind as we were talking about the power decision is that there's conscious decision and there's subconscious decision. Now, the conscious decision is, we decide how we respond to something. There is a moment in there where we get to make a decision. Or, are you driving to work today? What radio station are you listening to? These types of things. Are you going to listen to the NECKROOTS podcast, which you are going to listen to the NECKROOTS podcast, right? But those are conscious decisions. Then there's subconscious decisions, right? These are decisions that we make every day without really even having to think about it. For example, something easy like just driving, right? You're making decisions the whole time you're driving, and you don't sit down and reflect on, okay, what decisions did I make on my drive here today? But there's, even deeper than that, there's subconscious decisions that we make that guide our lives, that guide our days, right? And in some instances, it may be required that we reprogram those decisions if those decisions aren't helping us become a better version of ourselves.
You're absolutely right. Updating those belief systems and those expectations will affect that. But I think the subconscious, you bring up a good point, because, man, that's the power of compounding right there. That's a whole different episode. But the reality is, those decisions, those subconscious decisions, and that muscle memory that we have, the things we do without even thinking about it, those are based on our habits, and our habits equal our future.
Yeah.
Right? So those subconscious things that we decide without really even having to think about it, those are our habits. So if we can back up just a little bit, roll the window down and say our habits equal our future, well, what does your future look like?
Yeah, no kidding.
Look at your daily habits, look at your daily choices, and I'll tell you, right? Lay them out for me, and you'll already know.
Yeah, the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right?
Right.
And subconsciously, that's the deal.
And if you don't like what your future looks like, change your daily habits. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And it's just repetitive. But you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not big decisions. I think when we talk about the power of decision, we feel like we're talking about yes or no, should I marry him, or this or that, or yes, should I go to school, or yes,
should I
take this better job? I don't know. No, that's not what we're talking about.
Nope.
The little things equal the big things.
Yeah.
That's true in every aspect of our life. So I think paying attention to those little things, I mean, that's going to be character driven, attitude driven, and all decide driven.
Yeah.
Right, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. So place value in the small decisions, right? We have to understand that there is a ton of value in the small decisions, because they lead to how we respond when we have to make bigger decisions.
You know what? Those little decisions are the big decisions. It's like stacking 2x4s, right?
Yeah.
They get stronger and stronger and stronger, and harder to break, and harder to go back and go and reset my habits so I can reset my future.
No kidding.
Right? So based on choice and the power to decide, and I'll decide today, I just want to take a minute and thank Neck Nation and everybody, our listeners, because you guys had a choice today, and you chose to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna sit down, or I'm gonna drive, and I'm gonna turn on NECKROOTS, and I'm gonna listen to this podcast, because I know when I plug into the Neck Nation power station, there's juice there for me, right?
Yeah.
So
there's a tune-up coming.
And you know what? Thank you. Sincerely.
Yeah.
And not because you're listening, but because you as an individual are making a change. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to say, hey, look at, here's the light, here's some hope, here's some inspiration. And you know what? You're part of that. And every hand matters right now. Every light matters. Every ray of hope matters. I think it's a very big deal. You ever been in a stadium, you see someone start their phone or their lighter or whatever,
and then it just goes around.
Yeah. Bro, it gets pretty bright. All of a sudden you can see who's sitting next to you if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? So it's powerful. One voice makes a difference. One person making a change makes a difference, because you never know who you're going to affect by your example ever.
Yeah.
People are paying attention, believe it or not. Right? They're paying attention more than we realize. So thank you, Neck Nation, for making the choice to listen, number one. And number two, thank you in advance for making the choice to take action on what you heard today, because that's the most powerful driver, right? If we're going to drop a gear and disappear, it takes action, right? Yep. And it takes massive action. So your call to action, Neck Nation, take action on what you heard today. And thank you sincerely for making the choice. And you know what? I'll decide.
Yeah, I'll decide. Definitely. And if you like what you've heard today, if you've been inspired by the message, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the podcast, right? The more you like and subscribe, the more you comment, the more people we can reach and hopefully inspire and help people to become better versions of themselves. But for right now, bless up, Neck Nation.
Bless up.